Hello, everyone. Welcome to another Street Epistemology review show. Today we are reviewing one of PineCreek's conversations with a Muslim he talked to on one of his streams a few days ago. And I've also got a few guests here as well, or co-hosts, Dali, Michael, and Nathan. What's up, you guys?
Hello.
Hi.
Hey. So to give background on why a bunch of Muslims are now talking to Doug, I guess I could show this this quick clip here. Here is PineCreek entering Hamza's den. Is that what it is? The arena, like last week. So this is what sparked this whole thing.
Someone said this PineCreek is going to be interesting. Apparently, these ex-atheists, something or other. Ex-atheist Christian, is that what it is? Sorry, you introduce yourself, mate. Sorry.
Yeah, hi.
I did a very bad job introducing you. I've never heard of you in my life. I'm acting like I know your life story.
I'm an ex-Christian, now atheist.
Oh, you're ex-Christian? Oh.
Yeah, by atheist, I mean, I don't say that there is no God. I just don't believe any of the religions of the world are true.
So you had like an hour-long conversation, and that's usually rare to see. I hear, because they do like whatever Hamza's arena. It's like a 5-hour stream or something.
Yeah, so, it is. It's long, and I commend them. They're much more engaging with him than I'm used to seeing him speak with a lot of people who call into his show. So this was actually quite nice to see. It was a very cordial talk.
He managed to thread the needle or run the gamut or something. No, run the gauntlet. That's in terms of not giving them reasons to do their usual thing, which would be to get angry, shut you down, lose the temper, mute, fail, throw chair.
Yeah, so then Doug posted that conversation he did on Hamza's Den on his channel, and then like maybe a day or two after, he did a review video with Nathan from Digital Gnosis on his channel. But then he started taking invites for people to come on his stream and talk, and this Muslim JC came on his show and started chatting with him, and I think this is going to be a really, really interesting review.
My favorite part about this is it's an outsider test for somebody of any other religious faith. So if you are and you're watching this, try to put yourself in our shoes when we're trying to bridge the gap of understanding during this conversation.
Yep, so let's get into the video. Here we go.
Can you guys hear me?
Yes.
Oh, cool. No, I just had the other tab open. I think that's the reason why. So I was listening into the stream. I think a few callers ago, I don't know if it was like maybe 2 callers ago, you're posing a thought experiment of, I guess, screenplay. Can you just kind of run that by me again, just so that I can understand, where that was going? Or
yeah, it was a new thought experiment that I just thought of on the spot. It's basically for a thought experiment against the design argument. We're writing a screenplay about a universe that has no God in it, and we got to actually create a narrative, describe this universe and so forth. How would you describe a universe in a screenplay for a movie that has no God in it? What would it look like? What sort of things would we put in or leave out?
I see. So I think my thought into that was whatever screenplay and characters that you want to add and storyline that you want to add, ultimately as humans, because we have the ability to rationalize, we would look for an explanation, right? So if, let's say, for example, you are one of the characters in the story, and you have a family, you have a wife, you have a kid, you acknowledge that there's existence, you acknowledge that you exist. People outside of your own existence exist, like your family. People outside of other minds, such as, let's say, planets, everything else exists. And I ask you, would you say there's an explanation for all of these things that you acknowledge? What would you say?
Yeah, the explanation is that the universe is necessary.
No, but you would still acknowledge that there is an explanation, right?
Yeah.
Right. So let's take your screenplay a little further and imagine that all the things that you acknowledge it, but imagine there is no explanation. What would you say to that?
I don't know.
My response would have been, I don't know, is maybe a fine answer, though. Is not having an explanation the same thing as not having access to an explanation, or is there a difference?
Yeah, it's one of the biggest questions out there, like the origin for the universe and everything. I like Douglas Adams, how he goes about answering it. Like the answer is the universe. Really, it's about the questions we ask of what the universe is and how we know. So that's what I think about it. Yeah.
Yeah, this screenplay thought experiment is very similar to the magic envelope thought experiment, where the answer is in the envelope and you take it out. This is the answer. So what's your best explanation for this, given this answer? It's like a way of asking for defeasibility. Like, in what way would this idea, could some alternative explanation be true if it were? And trying to get them to, using a question, or maybe asking them if they've wondered about it before. Have they wondered about what the other side, if the other side is right, what would we need to see or think of? How would we need to think about it? What would we need to see? What would be different? Those sorts of questions. Is that what he's basically doing? Do you think, Reid?
Who?
Doug here with he asked him to think of, if we were making a screenplay. That's kind of the purpose of the thought experiment, right?
He's trying to help.
Yeah, this is totally a hypothetical.
Yeah.
Sorry, go Reid.
He's trying to help him generate potential alternative hypotheses for the just have at least one extra one besides God or Allah. So you can at least start to work on questioning the claim. You don't want to just start with your answer and then confirm that answer. So generate a bunch of explanations and just guess, and then go about.
I think people can be. Sorry, I don't mean to step on you. I think people can really. I'm doing it again. Sorry.
Go ahead. And then try to break your guesses, your hypotheses. Yeah, falsification. Go ahead.
Sorry, I kept hearing the end of the sentence and it didn't happen. And I was
There's a little lag. It's fine.
It's fine.
Yeah, that's what it is. Sorry, I lost it. It's about hypotheticals and how difficult it can be. Okay, yes. If a person has a very difficult time imagining a counter hypothetical, that can maybe be their own discovery of an unread library, their own discovery that, wow, this is a lot harder than it should have been. This question should have been an easy answer and intuitively, but it wasn't. So why?
Right. All right. Let's keep going.
I love being asked those questions. Yeah. All right. Let's do it.
Yeah.
I would say I don't know.
So would you say that regardless of what we want to believe, it's very intuitive for us to conclude that as soon as you acknowledge that there is some sort of existence, that there must be an explanation? Is that fair?
I don't think so.
Why?
Well, why must there be?
Well, that's the thing, right? So that's the reason
Well,
why.
okay, I
asked you this
guess
question.
I earlier considered necessity as an explanation. Would you say that's an explanation?
Well,
Sorry for the wind noise that's coming from JC.
it could be a necessary explanation of a necessary explanation. I mean, you can keep going and going, but
would you say necessity is an explanation? Yes or no?
it is a type of explanation.
Well, there you go. So I would just say that in this universe where there is no God, the explanation for it is by necessity. That's an explanation.
I agree, and you do accept that. Just the idea of saying after acknowledging existence that there is no explanation, like that would be absurd.
I don't know.
That would be absurd. So that's just,
Yeah, if a thing exists outside of time.
So So having God be an explanation for these big questions just fulfills the psychological need for attribution, for a way to make sense of things. And if humans don't like not having explanations for things, we really want explanations. It helps us feel more in control in life. So in God, it is like in a way to have an illusion of control, or it's a way of pretending to know something that we don't know. So it helps us psychologically in that way. At least,
Yeah. Plus, if we don't have an explanation, I mean, or how do we get to that explanation? It's really what I'm mostly concerned with.
Yeah. I don't want any explanation. I want a good explanation, and I don't want to cheat as well. I don't want to pretend to know. I need good ways to know. All right, and how does he know? Let's get into it.
Mm-hmm.
I think necessity is probably the last stop on the street for the mailman. Is like when people say, I don't know what the explanation is, maybe it's just a brute fact and it's necessary. But anyhow, where is this going? Your start. I can tell you have a philosophy degree or some credits, right?
No, not at all. I wish.
Oh, you wish?
I don't. Yeah, but no. I mean, look, it's something that I'm a person who at least I would like to think I'm open-minded.
Is that role casting?
I don't know. I think it was just trying to.
Or maybe it was like accidental role casting. Like he didn't even mean it. He was like serious. Like maybe you're a philosophy person. That's part of like a section in the in the orange book, right?
Yeah. Is that alter casting? Is that also an word for that?
Alter casting. That's the word. Sorry, excuse. I screwed that up. Yeah. Oh,
I think role casting is an even better word because that's what it means. You're putting them in a role.
Yeah, you're saying like
as opposed to
seem like an honest person,
casting them into an alternate role, which is I think what the word starts to mean.
Alter casting, right. Yeah, my favorite alter cast is when it's deeply sincere, and I think my conversation partner is being sincere. I love to tell them that they're being very sincere. Yeah, or honest. Those are all good reinforcers and encouragers that get people motivated to continue to have the discussion with you.
They're very powerful and can have
so long as you're being
rubber
honest
band
about
snap
it.
if they think if they ever detect that you're being dishonest or insincere or think so, because it's not whether you are, it's whether you're perceived to be.
Right.
That could be a real rubber band breaking.
If they didn't mean it.
Real bad.
Yeah.
So Michael, what do you think about this question? Does SE with a Muslim require a different approach? If so, what might that be and why?
Interesting.
No. It would be my answer.
I would say slightly. I need to be girded up more for more gish gallop. Dealing with a Muslim is a lot closer to dealing with a fundamentalist young earth Christian than the average Christian. It's not that they're different. It's that they're skewed to one side of a real gish gallop and a whole lot of cumulative case bad answers that have been debunked just coming at you in a stack.
Is there a bigger variation in the types of Muslims that we come across than we would typically see with other religions? And if there is, then we might need to be a little bit more aware of any adjustments we need to make. I'm thinking that, if I'm in somewhere in the north of Saudi Arabia and having an SE conversation with someone, I might want to have a different approach depending on what type of Muslim, what type of...
How about over Zoom from another country?
Yeah. What's that, sorry? Over Zoom.
How good over Zoom from another country? I'm not sure I'd want to go into a Muslim majority nation and start doing SE with people on the street. I might get hung or thrown off a tall building or any number of whatevers.
Yeah.
I'd probably spend more time with rapport for sure. Just because there's this cultural divide. And I've spent some time in India and I love broaching new conversations with people in India, though the nature of conversations is much different there. And so I would probably spend some time studying the way people talk, the way that people have different attitudes about things, and understanding that their cultural practices are vastly different than mine, that if I feel offended or frustrated with something that I'm hearing, I need to check on where I am, the most efficient way to bridge the gap of understanding and like trying to build on that rapport is really important.
I guess the approach is the same because you're just being aware at the outset of the feedback you're getting when you're doing an SE conversation, right? So if you see that rapport is an issue, safety is an issue, then the generalistic approach is the same no matter who it is. So I think that's probably the best way to answer that.
Cool. Thanks, Paul.
I do have discussions with people of all other beliefs, whether you're an atheist or non-atheist. And, I personally believe, regardless of if one believes there is a true religion out there, I think it starts with their personal ontology of what's their worldview of their reality and their own presuppositions of what they feel from their lens is reality, right?
But people's worldviews change, right?
Absolutely, and that's the thing, right? So I think if a person is truly open-minded, whether you feel like you have a true belief, whether it's a religion or not a religion, it's something that you should. I feel the journey of life is questioning things. You can hold a position, right? But doesn't mean that it's not going to change over time, right? So the point of me asking this question of, can there be a world where there is no explanation? Well, to me, that ultimately makes me think, okay, maybe there is no existence.
Yeah, but that wasn't the
obviously that's against.
That wasn't the thought experiment. The thought experiment was a world where there's no God.
Right. So the thing is that that scenario, I feel like it contradicts what we already acknowledge in reality. To say so, if you're saying that, okay, let's imagine that there is no God, right?
Mm-hmm.
That ultimately to me means that there is no explanation.
Why did you say that?
Because I don't see a world where you can acknowledge.
There it is. God has the explanation.
This is the flat rejection of the hypothetical. This is the I can't even write you a screenplay because it's so not true. And honey, that's intellectual weak sauce, okay?
This is where I think if we can't imagine a hypothetical, it seems better to just jump straight into, well, what's our criteria that helps us determine if we have a reliable way to know what's true, and what's our checklist for the method that we're using to think that the opposite is true. And then can we use a checklist like that? If we can't imagine a hypothetical, can we use a checklist so that at least we have a reliable way to know if it does pop up and presents itself in front of us? That's the way I look at it.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
All right, let's keep going.
Existence and conclude that there is no explanation whatsoever. That's the reason.
No, but I'm not saying that there's no explanation. I'm saying there is an explanation.
Yeah, and so to me personally,
without a God.
So yeah.
Do you believe there can be an explanation for the universe without a God?
I would say the source. So this is I'll try to phrase it in a simple way.
You can just say lean yes or lean no.
Yeah, no. I would say no.
Okay.
And this is the reason, right? I mean, there could be multiple reasons, but I feel God is a source of the inference of the best explanation of why there is existence. So if there's a void of an explanation, then therefore there is no existence to explain.
How would you explain God's nature?
Yeah, so and this is the part, right? So what God is, I would say, is the secondary step of whether it's theology or stories passed down.
There it is, number 14.
Yeah.
It's so great. So like if you're going 60 miles per hour down a highway and there's a fork in the road, you might be forced to take a right or a left. Like if you're compelled. Though if you have all the time in the world to slow down and think about it, which would you rather be? Would you run the risk of being positively mistaken? Or would you rather be ignorant and just say, I don't know. I'm still looking for what the answer could be. Without an explanation for something, is any answer better than no answer?
Yeah. And the other side to that is if we start forming the habit of just accepting things without having explanations for them, how does that impact on the way we view ourselves, other people, the world around us on other issues? Do we now start to, repeat that habit and truth goes out the window then? Does that inform the other beliefs that we have? What sort of harm can flow from there? That's the other side to that as well.
Yep. All right, let's keep going.
Yeah. So, and this is the part, right? So, what God is, I would say, is the secondary step of whether it's theology or stories passed down or whatever the case may be, right? So,
No,
to know what God is,
why is God?
God being the source of existence, well, that's something that you would have to ask God. It's the same way if you ask me why you exist, I would have to ask you, right? So,
Are you saying you don't have an explanation for God's nature?
no, I'm saying we got to start with step one, which is
What is the explanation from your vantage point of why God's nature is what it is, as opposed to something else?
Oh, because if he is a necessary existence, then he couldn't be any other way, right?
If the universe is necessary in its existence, it can't be any other way.
Right, because your position is that the universe is a necessary existence, correct?
Correct. And your position is that God's nature is necessary, correct?
Yeah.
So we're the same. Thanks for calling in.
Boom.
Yeah. But the difference
Outsider test for the own idea. Like, what reason do we have to give these attributes to this idea, these necessary attributes? And why can't I just take these attributes and apply it to my idea? What's stopping me from doing that? Is there something that's like, how did you figure that part out?
Argument from consequence.
Mm-hmm.
Play what I think is my favorite example of this conundrum being explained. Do y'all know?
Nice.
Do you know what this is about?
My man Sagan.
Of a Big Bang followed by an expanding universe is correct. What happened before that? Was the universe devoid of all matter and then the matter suddenly somehow created? How did that happen? In many cultures, the customary answer is that a god or gods created the universe out of nothing. But if we wish to pursue this question courageously, we must, of course, ask the next question. Where did God come from? If we decide that this is an unanswerable question, why not save a step and conclude that the origin of the universe is an unanswerable question? Or, if we say that God always existed, why not save a step and conclude that the universe always existed, that there's no need for a creation, it was always here? These are not easy questions. Cosmology brings us face to face with the deepest mysteries, with questions that were once treated only in religion and myth.
Oh, it's so beautiful. I love the Cosmic series. Even the new one with Neil deGrasse Tyson's pretty awesome too.
Yeah, that's cool.
Oh, and
Yeah,
the even newer one with Daniel Ray, like today, the cosmology of the Old Testament with a heck of a bunch of Sagan clips to tell Old Testament Bible stories as an alternate cosmology. Daniel Ray. Shout out to Daniel. Hey, I love your work. You have great production values.
One thing before we move on, I'm curious to know, because I legit don't know, is there any evidence for an actual philosophical nothing? Like, how did we conclude that is even a thing or even possible? How did we?
I think Lawrence Krauss beat that horse to death.
Right. It's like, can we give one example of something that is the absence of everything? Is there anything that could ever do that? How do we know it's not an infinite regress? I know that sounds really ridiculous. Like, we can't understand it, like something beyond our imagining it, right? Though, how did we rule that out is like another thing I'm always wondering. Like, I don't know how we rule that out. That's a possibility.
We just
Let the mathematicians worry about their rules.
Yeah. Yeah. All right, let's keep going.
It's a difference. But your assumption is that the universe can explain everything. It has the ability to explain every single
Is your
thing.
assumption that God can explain everything?
Yeah, if God...
Yeah, that's mine too then.
How does that work? So
How does God explain everything?
so if for anything to have given any explanation, it must have some sort of agency, some sort of power, knowledge, or will to explain something.
Why is that?
Because I can't go to a rock and ask itself to explain itself. It's and I haven't seen that happen. So why would the universe explain itself without having any of those features?
By just being what it is.
Yeah, and that's us imposing what the universe is. It's not the universe telling us what it is.
And maybe you're imposing what God's nature is and not God telling you what it is.
Well, that's a topic of theology, which is not what I'm touching on, right? So
what type of Christian are you?
Oh my
I'm not a
goodness.
Christian.
What type of
Category error because topic change. Oh gosh. By the way, I'm wondering, did he pay royalties to Tom Jump for this argument? Please continue.
I'm a Muslim, but
Oh,
again,
you're a Muslim.
yes, I am a Muslim. Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
Why do you believe, if God is necessary in the explanation for the universe, why do you believe it's that God?
Well, at least from my study of all the different explanations, every religion can have something that they describe as God that may make sense. My understanding is, if a God exists, and let's say since the beginning of human history, there has always been one message and one explanation of what God is. The only thing is, over periods of time through history, people make up their own different versions, and we've seen that obviously. If you just study any basic class of
Why do you
religion.
believe Allah is the one and true God?
I believe that the explanation of Allah in the Quran is the most coherent, and that's the reason why I believe it. And sure, anyone can scrutinize it, and
Is there
find
any
holes or
reasons
whatever.
to think that the Quran is not the perfect word of Allah or of a God?
Well, you got to reason with what the Quran claims.
For
it
you
has
personally,
different-
what have you doubted about the Quran in your life?
like, why would God even send a word? Why would God even send a message for mankind?
And what answer did you get?
Well, the answer that I personally got was, at a point where I was comparing myself to, let's say, if I had a deistic belief, where God could care less. He just created a universe.
Do you
created
really?
everything.
What's your first name?
Jawad.
Jawad?
Yeah.
Do you really believe that an angel Gabriel spoke the very words of Allah to a guy named Muhammad in a cave over 23 years?
Yeah, I have no reason not to believe that.
You have no reason not to believe that.
Mhm.
What do you think I'm thinking right now?
Well, you have to tell me. I don't know what you're thinking.
You have no.
Is this the question to talk about, or the statement from the survey?
Yeah, he mentions that he believes because it's the most coherent. I think the words he used were most coherent. So at the essence, right at the essence of it all, he's saying there are criteria that are reliable that demonstrate to me this is true. Yet it doesn't look like he's put his mind to what the criteria are and how reliable are they. He's just at the conclusion that this is the most coherent. So, yeah, for me, I'd like to look at, we'll see how he takes this, but I'd like to look at, the traditional way. So what are your main reasons for thinking it's coherent? What are the methods that get you there? And then what's the criteria that you're checking off to demonstrate to you that those methods are reliable? That's sort of the direction.
Just to be technical and pedantic about it, I think he's using an abductive argument, which is to say, taking all the options that you think are possible and choosing the most probable, even if it's not more than 50-50 likely, and just choosing that that's the case, which is great logic when betting on a horse race, but not even good enough logic to navigate to another city.
All right. Let's keep going.
Reason to think that a creator God sent an angel to a man in a cave and told him these are the very words of God? You have no reason to. Can you guess what I'm thinking?
You're probably guessing that that's my starting point. That's where I have to begin to believe, and then the rest of it follows, and it's true. But for any person who, let's say, for example, outside coming in, let's say a person studied Islam and then they let's say they accepted Islam, that's probably not even the first place that they would begin. Oh, really? That's what happened. Okay, now I'm definitely like, that's not basically the basis of where you would begin. I get the contention you may have, like, oh my God, that's like such a naturalistic, supernatural event. How can one believe
Well,
that?
no, even then, like I can say to you, okay, I'll grant you that a creator God exists. But still, isn't it unlikely that a creator God would give his word to a guy named Muhammad in a cave and say, through an angel, Gabriel? Like,
Why would that be unlikely?
well, let me ask you this. How many people in the world who said that they've gotten a revelation from God have been right about it? And how many do you think have been wrong about it? Do you think it's more than 50% more right? Or
yeah, I'm sure there's many. And at the same time, so in terms of the Islamic narrative, we believe that there have been thousands of prophets all throughout human history, right? Sure, we don't have a recollection and a historical document of every specific one. So, I mean, it's hard to say, okay, is it 50% or not? But I could still say there have been many people in history who have received revelation as a guidance for mankind or their specific geographic location.
but you believe that because the Quran says that, right?
Yeah, of course.
So the real issue is, why do you put your trust in the Quran? Why do you think a God would send an angel to talk to a guy in a cave for 23 years and say, this is the perfect word of me?
Yeah.
What reason would you have to believe that?
Yeah, so I don't want to give you like a long-winded, but this is what I would suggest. So the person who claimed that was Prophet Muhammad, correct? I think,
Right.
whether you believe in him or not, I think this is basically something that what you're saying is based on, the person who claimed this. What I would do and would expect anyone to do is assess and test that claim. See the person who claimed, look into the person he was, why would he claim this? What is he getting out of it?
What would you have to find about the person Muhammad to doubt that claim?
Sorry, can you repeat that again?
What would you have to find out? You said to test the claim, to look into the person of Muhammad. Let's say I told you that there's a book that has a creator God in it who says that he revealed himself to Myron. And let's say you and I investigated Myron, we found no fault in him, that he's the most upright man that we've ever found on planet Earth even. Would that still make it more likely that a creator God gave the very words of himself to Myron?
Yeah, again, it's based on the reason, right? So, one can claim, whether, he's just making this up, or he was deluded, or maybe he was, possessed by that angel, right? So these are possible things that you can kind of see, okay, were there any motives for him to lie about it?
Do you think more people are deluded in life who say that they've had a revelation, or more people actually got a revelation from God? What's more likely, delusion? Or
it's
actual?
It's definitely possible, but I would also say a person who's deluded, they'll be consistently.
No, I'm asking which is more probable, not possible. Is it more probable that a person who says they've had a revelation from God, is it more probable they're deluded, or they actually received a revelation from God? Which do you think is more probable?
It depends. It honestly depends, because
if that's all we know nothing else. Someone makes a claim and they say, I received this directly from the creator God. Now I'm asking you, is it more likely that they're deluded, or that they are telling the truth?
I would say we would be jumping to a conclusion either way, right? Whether I say yes, this person definitely got a revelation, or this person is deluded, either way, based on nothing else.
If someone on the streets walks up to you and said, hey, last week I flew over the Grand Canyon unaided, are they more likely telling the truth or deluded?
Same thing. I would have to really assess them and ask them why they believe what they believe.
This is kind of like the Ferrari test. This is kind of like the Ferrari test, but you mix in a probability, this or that, and then you go through. So this is like 23 on the survey. Unusual claims require, or what was it exactly? It's
extraordinary claims require extraordinary evidence. If
but we made it so it wasn't. Yeah, but we try to change it so it wasn't so like.
Wasn't so straight on, yeah, because they've gotten really reactive to that word extraordinary.
Yeah, it's the more unusual the statement, the stronger the evidence needs to be.
Not unusual for
So,
me. Yeah, that's a common.
The thing is, you can just demonstrate this. You can really demonstrate this in a very brief thought experiment. 0 to 100, I own a car. What do you just accept that? 0 to 100, I have 3 cars. Look at me. Do I look like I have 3 cars? Maybe
Sure.
not. And then I have an invisible car. What's your confidence on that? And I think what Doug is doing is he's just saying this or that. Which one's more probable? You know nothing about it. You know nothing about the scenario, just basing on the statement alone or the claim alone without anything else. Where would you be on the scale, essentially?
It's only a
where would you
matchbox
be on the
invisible
scale
car.
for-
That's much easier.
Yeah. For column A or for column B?
This is super efficient. Like I love the way Doug's gone straight to main reason, and he's just firing off all the criteria with these questions. Disconfirmation outside. He's going through a whole bunch of them. It's very efficient. Like, it's really good to see how he does
His
it.
suggestion's really good to do for just about any idea you have, like reasons why you believe something and what's the best alternative option for whatever that happens to be. And then ask yourself which is more probable. And then, I mean, it's not as good as evidence would be. It's a good place to start, though.
Am I hearing it wrong? It seems like his interlocutor is not listening to each one as well as maybe he could, and so maybe there's missed opportunities by not pinning him on it.
I think he sees the answer, and there's some resistance there, and I can't blame him. I would probably feel a little resistant too if I were concluding something where I could see how the question laid everything out.
So here's a question just quickly. If we see resistance and dissonance like this, should we go back to rapport? Should we stay focused on the question that's creating the dissonance, or should we let it go and just move on to another criteria test?
My preference is to make it check in and then make it more abstract. Just take it off the belief completely and talk about some other thing that we think we don't agree with. What do you think, Reid?
Yeah, I think this, as I really don't know anything about statistics, but I think this relates to base rate. He's trying to figure out of everyone who's ever lived, how many people have actually had revolution. Is it 1 out of, 10 billion or 15? How many people have lived? So that's our now base rate, null hypothesis for people who have had revelation. Now we need to check to see, okay, is it actually these 5 out of 15 billion people? And how do we know if it's actually been someone? So then that gets into epistemology. Yeah. All right. Anything else about this? Want to keep going?
Yeah, right. I'm ready.
All right.
If you talk to me face to face and I said, on the count of 3, I can make you invisible, do you think I'm more likely telling the truth or deluded?
Are you a magician?
I think the answer is obvious, is it not?
Well, look, there's a nuance over everything. If you want to filter everything to something very simple as, black and white, we can do that. But, if
Well, the
it's something
Quran's
that
either the perfect word of Allah or it isn't, right? That's pretty black and white.
No, but hold on. We're talking about, your premise on, okay, the person who said that, hey, an angel came to me in a cave and said that these are things outside the Quran. I'm not saying the Quran is true because the Quran says it's true. I'm simply telling you there are tangible things outside of the Quran that we can assess, right? Whether it's history, whether it's things about the person that is claiming. We can assess all these things within a probabilistic framework and see, was this person lying? Were they deluded? Were they possessed by an angel, if you believe, or a demon, if you believe in those kind of things?
In human history, what's more likely? The people are lying or received a line about a revelation, or they actually received it? Throughout the course of history, what's more likely? The people are deluded about receiving a revelation or actually receiving it? Over the course of history...
That's what I'm saying, right? So this kind of goes back to my previous point. We believe from Islamic perspective that there have been thousands of prophets throughout different areas of the world, right? So whether I know who they are
Thousands out of however many billions of people. Okay, that's the base rate.
or not, I believe there were true prophets before Prophet Muhammad. He's just the final prophet.
But it's because the Quran told you this, right?
Yeah, so exactly. So we were kind of going in a circle now. So I'm saying we have to look at things outside the Quran now, right? This is the part that I'm saying.
Can name
anyone
one thing
would have
outside
to-
the Quran that makes you think that Muhammad actually received a revelation from a creator God?
Right. So the basic that, and most of the people, if they have studied Islam, is who he was. So if he was an illiterate man, right, who did not know how to read or write, and now it's all of a sudden, making all these, you can say these, let's say verses, right, or linguistic things that he's saying in the language,
Okay,
people will notice.
Okay, I
Right.
got it. So one reason you think that the Quran might be the perfect word of a creator God, Allah, is because he was an illiterate man and now he is responsible for writing this book, correct?
I would say it's one reason. It's one of many reasons.
Okay.
Obviously, it's a build-up. Obviously,
I
as soon as
understand.
people didn't hear him, they didn't just say, "Oh my God, what are you saying? You must be,"
Okay, I
don't think
understand.
it was as simple as that.
Now, I want you to be as honest as you can with me here. There's two explanations for this. Let's say you're right that he was an illiterate man and he's responsible for either whatever, creating this book. One explanation is that God revealed it to him and did some type of miracle, and the book was produced. Another explanation would be what? What would be the second best explanation for how we could have the Quran and how Muhammad could be illiterate and we could still have the Quran today, but it has nothing to do with the creator God? What would be an explanation for that?
So sorry, I kind of missed the second part.
What's the second best explanation for the Quran existing,
Mm-hmm.
assuming that it's not from a creator God and assuming Muhammad was illiterate?
Yeah, as a possibility, you can say that if it's not from God, then
All right.
obviously it's from man.
So for anybody out there who's used to seeing themselves debate their friends, take note of what just happened there. He didn't provide what it was. He asked what could be the alternative explanation. It's a mistake to send a message by saying what the alternative could be, because the other person's not going to receive it. If you ask, though, then that could be helpful, I think.
Yep, it helps them think through whatever they're claiming to be the case and the reasons why.
They might not have ever thought about the second best explanation. They probably have only thought of this one. So it's a great question. This is a powerful question, for sure.
Yeah, first you got to brainstorm a whole bunch and then rank it and then figure out the second best. So that's a lot to ask of someone, but it's great for getting someone to think. All right, here we go.
Especially if you turn around up your Aporia score.
Yeah.
Right, but you said that he was an illiterate man, and yet we still have this book called the Quran. How would you explain this? Assuming that it's not true, that it's from a creator God, Allah. How could we have this book?
Sure, we can. Well, again, we would have to really stretch it and say, okay, maybe he got help from someone.
Maybe he got help from someone. That seems very reasonable, does it not?
Yeah, of course.
Okay, so what's more likely? That a creator God revealed through an angel to a guy named Muhammad, who was illiterate, the perfect will of God, or a man who got help from people created a book? Which is more likely of those two?
Again, I would have to assess who helped him out.
Just based on that information alone.
That wouldn't be fair. That wouldn't be a fair assessment either way. I would be agnostic at that point.
You'd be agnostic. You wouldn't lean one way or another?
No.
He sees what's going on.
I think so. It's
Oh,
like
yeah.
he avoided that. He avoided that because there's evidence of lots of other religious ideas out there that have done this, apparently, So So he has his answer right there. It's just too much in his face for him to acknowledge it, probably. Or, I mean, maybe he's got a good reason. I guess we'll find out. I want to stay open to that idea, though I am seeing him feel like it's under pressure. This is a unique kind of SE talk, though, too, because this is like a call-in show. So in this instance, Doug's position is revealed. So keep that in mind, too, if anyone's watching. A stranger kind of conversation goes much different, and the tone is going to be very different and that sort of thing. Mm-hmm. Though if you're already like out in the open and somebody already knows the way you think about it, that's why he's got the kind of like tone of voice that he has, and I think it's a good explanation for it.
I'm checking the flow chart, and it says if the comparison disproves your position, goes down to category error.
I realized I just had myself on mute before. I was going to mention when we were talking about what's the best next explanation. I find that's really helpful for me because often I have a bias and I have my own opinion of what the next best explanation is. But by asking that question, it awakens me to other possibilities as well.
Yep.
All right, keep going.
No, because look, we're if you really want to make a conclusion, you would have to be reasonable, rational, and logical. If I just want to say on a probability or what's probable, it can go either way. What's the point? It's 50-50, right? It's neither here nor there.
It's 50-50. So if someone comes up to you and says, "Hey, I'm illiterate, but yet I'm responsible for this great book," would you say it's 50-50 that they got help from a god or that someone helped him?
I'm saying I wouldn't even go there. I would simply ask, why is that? What is the reason why that you came to that conclusion? Not simply making a conclusion.
And that's what I'm asking you.
Yeah, so that's the thing. So if someone came to me and they're illiterate and now they have a piece of, they wrote a whole book or whatever the case may be, I'll ask them, okay, can you demonstrate how you did this while being illiterate?
Joseph Smith.
I think you agree with me deep down in your soul. I think you think it is more probable that a guy didn't get a revelation from a creator God and did get help if he was illiterate over that creator God, angel, perfect revelation.
Let's say I granted, right? Let's say I granted that he did get help, right? What would be the next step? Would you take that as
the next step is what happened? The next step is you make a list on a piece of paper of all the reasons why you think the Quran is indeed the perfect will of Allah. And you gave one just now. Here's an external test. He was illiterate, yet he created this book. And I think we kind of crossed that one off the list. And you just keep going down the list. So you create your list and you ask that same question I asked you each time. What is the second best explanation for this, other than it actually being the perfect will of Allah? And then you ask yourself, well, which is more probable, the second best explanation or the best? Is it really more probable? And then I think if you do that by number 10 on your list, you'll be doubting Islam a lot.
Well, let's play it out, right? So I make my list. I have a long list of possibilities, right? I mean, I can like go very absurd and I can be like, hey, like literally another alien came from outer space and told him what to write. I mean, I can, like, that list, it doesn't even have to be 10. I mean, I can keep going and it could be as long as it needs to be.
I would say that is slightly more probable than a god, the alien one.
Indeed, it requires a lot fewer changes to my understanding about how ontology or physics works.
Well, yeah, and with that, at least we have a sample set of one, like life on this planet. So there is a sample set. It's one, but it exists. So, and we can point to it. Well, I guess it's actually much more than one. I mean, I guess if it depends on if you're counting all the species or if you're just like saying Earth, which would be one. There's different ways to break that
DNA.
one down.
Everything has got
we
DNA.
still don't know.
One thing.
The Fermi's paradox is still a troublesome thing. We have no idea.
Yeah. Right.
I think the next logical question for me is, as I go through that list, I have to assess all of them and then I have to look further deeper into it and see, okay, which one actually.
We can do one more together. You mentioned he was illiterate, and you kind of implied some type of miracle. Then I asked you the second best explanation. You said he had help. Name a second one.
No, I'm saying before we even get to the list, now it's time to check off which of the things in the list actually make sense or doesn't make sense, right? So if you say that he did get help from someone else, all right, what reason do I have to believe that? Right? Now I have to see, okay, is there anything in history that I can find that I can correlate with that and say that, hey, he did actually have people around him who had all these specific information that he...
Do people hang out with other people? Is that a reasonable thing to say? Do people help other people? Isn't that reasonable to say?
Yeah. I mean, look, that's just shifting one belief and shifting it on another point, right?
No. I'm saying that's a pretty reasonable default position, is that people help people no matter what. I mean, unless you're a hermit living in a cave. Well, never mind. Scratch that.
Oops.
I don't think you need to say, well, I need evidence that he got help. I think
no. I'm not even saying, hey, prove to me that he had, and who exactly was it that helped him. It's not even that. I'm saying with the train of thought that we're going in, we can continue to make up one thing after another, after another, after another, after another. It's just creating one doubt after another doubt after another.
Yes, we're creating doubt. Yes.
Right. And what I'm saying is, doubt does not reach truth. Can anyone say the more doubts I have, the more I can solidify truth?
Oh, I would disagree with you. I would say doubt is a motivator for truth.
No, I'm not talking about motivator. I'm talking about in terms of making conclusions. So if I doubt something, so if I doubt something, it's not my reason to reject it. That's just me holding a belief, and I'm just adding doubts to solidify my belief of having a doubt.
Is there a statement for that on the survey?
Oh, yeah. It is beneficial to find out when I'm wrong about something. Pretty much the whole last section. Yeah, that one. That one also, I will abandon a belief if I discover reliable information that falsifies it. That's another one. 22. The whole section is about who we are as people and how we feel about other people who don't change and how we like to change for good reason when there is.
Yeah. Big one there is, are you comfortable with saying, I don't know?
Yeah, that one.
I really appreciate his intellectual honesty, admitting that doubt is no part of his epistemology.
Yeah, I've got like this ledger in my mind of like true beliefs and false beliefs. I want more true, less false. If I want that, and I have a belief that I'm discovering is false, and I doubt that, that gets me towards my goal of more true beliefs, less false beliefs. That's what doubt is about. That's part of my
it's like there's a counter scale here of false hazardous pits to fall into, and if we're trying to climb up higher to truth, but we fall into these pits, that's an interesting way to think about it.
If I don't allow doubt in my epistemology, does that mean I'm stuck in binary? I can't have any beliefs that I can only see beliefs as true or false. Truth. I can't see the gray area. I can't see probabilities or multiple options or something like that. Is that what happens if I
Thank you so much,
allow doubt?
Thank you so much for that question. Yeah, I mean, maybe there's a little bit of truth. And I honestly, that's what I think golden bridges are in conversation, is like, oh, there's like a little bit of truth in that thing that I think is false. So let me acknowledge it and let's air it out. And this is the part of what you say that is true, and I completely agree. And I understand why anyone would think that. So to save you from embarrassment, do you need to that's what the golden bridge is. But do you need to hold on to the false things too? To hold on to the true thing that's there? And it's like, come on over to this side.
Yeah, maybe
we don't know that. Whatever. Yeah,
maybe the way they're using doubt, there's a difference in the definitions and the way they're using doubt. It sounds like he's using doubt to say that I'll never have a good reason to believe anything if I'm engaging in his doubt.
Oh, that's number 7. Now that I think about it, Reid, that's number 7 on the survey. Do you have that on the ready?
Should
I
some
can't
beliefs
remember.
never be questioned is number 7.
Yeah, some beliefs should never be questioned. Yeah.
Gotcha.
That one, no one ever agrees to that, but it comes up in conversations a lot.
Yeah, and all of these questions are explored in this brand new book by Julia Galef, The Scout Mindset, and I highly recommend it. I've read the first 2 chapters. It's great.
Okay.
Oh, okay, great. Good.
Awesome.
I highly recommend it.
That's like the second time I've been recommended that book.
Oh, really? Cool, cool. All right, let's keep going. If I can find the tab. I think this is it. I have to like reselect the tab every time. All right, here we go.
It doesn't reach
Yeah.
the conclusion that, hey, because I doubt, therefore it is true. It's just a possibility, right? So you're just taking your agnosticism and you're just stretching it to add as many doubts as possible without assessing them, just because it's more.
I understand what you're saying. Before you go, imagine 5 years from now, you're like me. You don't believe in Islam anymore or any religion. How would your life be different?
That's usually the question I start with.
With me, I'm not a Muslim because I grew up in a Muslim family or whatever the case may be. To me, the way my worldview works is it starts with the belief in God. Religion comes way after. It could be a journey that you take on, even at your age now. I'm not sure how old
Right.
you
But
are.
my
right
question is, how would your life be
Right.
different if you became an atheist? Specifically.
If I was an atheist, it would mean that for me personally, I would come to a point where I'll be like, hey, you know what? If I do something that, let's say, what I hold as morally good, hey, I might be enticed to do it anyways
Morality. There it is at bottom.
because hey, who cares now?
Oh,
Yeah.
you think you'd be
Who
less
we
moral
are.
if you became an atheist?
Less of a good person. If without this belief, I would be less of a good
Yeah,
person.
I would be someone else.
Yeah.
It's not about being less moral. It would be, what's the word? I'll be less accountable.
Less
Meaning-
accountable.
Less accountable meaning I'll do something. Look, we're all humans. We're not all perfect. Doesn't matter if you believe in a God or not. We all, we all do things that might not be morally correct. However, I won't have a way to remind myself that, hey, Jawad, guess what? What you did there, that's something that I shouldn't be doing it again and again, even though I know deep down inside that it's morally incorrect.
I'll give you a quick thought experiment, which is directly appropriate for this. You're walking in a mall and you see something happen. You see a person following another person. The person in front drops a $100 bill, doesn't realize it. The person walking behind sees the $100 bill on the ground, picks it up, and puts it in their pocket. Okay, that's scenario 1. Scenario 2 is you're in the mall, you see 2 people walking. The person in front drops a $100 bill, and the person behind picks it up. But as the person picks it up, he notices that the person in front turns around and sees, feels, intuits that something has been dropped. And then instead of putting it into his pocket, he immediately says, "Oh, excuse me, ma'am, you dropped this. Here you go." Which person is more moral, the first person or the second person? The first person is the one who just immediately puts it in his pocket. Second person puts it in the pocket or gives it back when being watched. And actually, there's a third person who, no matter being watched or not, gives it back. That's the third scenario. Scenario 1, 2, or 3, which is the most moral?
So what was the third one?
Third one was the person drops the $100 bill. The person picks it up, and before they even turn around, say, "Excuse me, ma'am, you dropped this."
Yeah,
Awesome.
Say something,
I love
Michael.
this. I just love this. I haven't heard that before, and it's just right on point. I love it. That's all I want to say. That's cool.
Yeah, that's a classic PineCreek thought experiment.
So your question is who is
In your opinion, which of the 3 is more virtuous, more moral? The one who just
probably
takes
scenario 3. From those 3 scenarios, I would say scenario 3.
scenario 3. So now my question to you is: do you think you need to be watched? Do you think you need this accountability from on high God in order to do the right thing, or can you do the right thing on your own?
No, I mean, look, accountability is not about being watched. I think that's a person who's going to commit a crime is going to commit a crime, right? I mean, you have people who could be the most religious who could still be committing crime.
Right.
And
But my point is,
in
can't
that
you be
moment-
accountable to yourself?
Oh, whether the level of God conscious you are, you're still accountable for yourself. You're always accountable to yourself, right? However, if you're
Would you be accountable to yourself as an atheist?
yeah, you should be. I mean, any human,
There you go.
right? So, but here's the thing: if any human, look, it's not. I'm not. I hope you don't take it as me saying if I become an atheist or any atheist by default is less moral or less accountable. That's not the point that I'm trying to make. I'm saying every human already has an inbuilt moral compass. So regardless of if that person believes in God or not, I believe God has
Okay,
already
so
instilled it within them.
I'm hearing your life wouldn't change when it comes to morality if you became an atheist. Am I hearing you right?
No, so let me give you from a perspective of what's the difference from my eyes, right?
I just want to know how your life would be different if you became an atheist. So far, I'm not hearing anything.
I would have a framework to be consistently moral in terms of if I'm being moral, it's just not not just the actions, right? It's your words, it's what you do, from a spiritual sense. So for a Muslim, for example, we have.
So I would have done
I
this.
think
a
he's
different
accidentally
way.
right, but I think he's saying it backwards. I would have a
I
moral
would've-
framework. He's saying the right thing. It's just I think he doesn't mean it.
I would have said or asked when he said there's a reason why I have this moral voice in my head, or he said something like that. I would have said, what's the second best reason for that? That's a really good opportunity for a second best reason.
Yeah.
I think.
Mm.
Yeah. Oh, Reid, you were reading something so intently that I thought your screen had froze. But you're still there.
I'm still here.
See, 24. I can be wrong. Look at that.
Yeah, I'm not interested in that.
Right?
I'm just
But this is the mechanism that I'm explaining, right? What would be the difference?
You got to bring them
If
back.
I'm an atheist, I'm no longer praying, right?
right.
So,
Okay.
Oh shit! Sorry.
right. So
There you go.
what's the advantage of me praying 5 times a day, taking my time? I'm in the middle of whatever it's time to pray. I have to stop what I'm doing and I'm praying.
Yeah.
Why am I doing that, right?
Good
so
question.
for me, for me, all the things that are happening in worldly things, I'm eating, I'm drinking, I'm going to work,
Golden bridges.
spending time with my family, spending time with my wife, all those things are going to continue. However, once you zone out and you have time with yourself in your mind, right? So the prayer being that framework, that portal, you're taking the mind out of all these materialistic things, and you're reminding yourself that you're on a path to be a better person, not on a day-to-day basis, from one prayer, the duration from the prayer that you just performed to the next prayer. It's
Sounds
a
like
constant
Islam is a bit of
reminder.
a self-help program.
Yes, it's a constant reminder for you to be a better person than you were last prayer. So an atheist, let's say, for example, if I'm an atheist, I can still say, hey, I want to be a better person than I was yesterday. Sure. Right. But we, with how the world is today, the fast world, we're all so indulged in, making money, make sure, we get popular, we have all the views. We're just chasing the game. And it becomes really hard to take that time out for yourself. We just do that 5 times a day.
But you could you could do meditation.
No, yeah, that's fine. Meditation, you can say prayer is a form of meditation.
Buy Tony Robbins CDs.
Or workout. Yeah.
Yes, that's fine.
Mhm.
So I'm just saying. So yeah. So anyone can do that. So something any religious or non-religious.
So I'm
person.
still not hearing the difference how your life would change because you could do all these replacements.
Yeah. So a person giving themselves the individual time.
Yeah. Imagine what you
Identity.
could do.
Is something that an atheist wouldn't do. Right. So this is something that
Yeah.
I would.
Okay. Something very practical. I get that. Okay. So your life would be better in a way because you don't have to do that, right?
No, now I have nothing bringing me back to my spiritual sense and
No,
giving
you could-
myself some time.
Meditation, yoga, Tony Robbins. I've just given you 3. You could still do that as an atheist.
And would that be something obligatory for an atheist to do, or would
Oh, obligatory.
they do it if they
Oh,
want,
do
if
you
they get time?
Do you need that obligation?
So that's the thing. So even let's say, for example, you're Muslim and it's not obligated for you to pray, right? Now, with all these different avenues of other things.
I mean, I'm sure I can read Doug's mind and say, is this because of hell? If you don't pray, you'll go against the word of Allah, and then eventually punish you. Is this the obligation, or the source of why the obligation is there? Or the
That's
best
a
reason?
great question. Yeah. Yeah, that's a great question.
This is question 21 on the survey. This is where this comes in.
Is it?
Is it always beneficial to find out if we're wrong about something? And it seems like at the heart of it, doesn't matter if it's right or wrong. We need it, because without there would be mayhem. That's what I'm hearing him say now.
Yeah, it'd be societal collapse, calamity. That's what Daniel Dennett would say when he gave a speech about belief.
Yeah, it could be the stick of hell, or some kind of carrot of, like, higher prestige in your social moral community. But let's see what he says.
Things you can do, right, from your desires to do this and that, and those desires can also be things that are immoral, right? Your prayer, as soon as it's time for your next prayer, it's a reminder for you that, hey, wait a second, Jawad, let's take a step back. Let's not think about those things that you shouldn't, or let's not go on that path that you shouldn't be going. And it will be a source for you to come back to who you are.
That obligation.
It is, yeah, because if you don't have that obligation, there's nothing stopping you when you are leading that path. You'll just continue until you feel good, and once you feel good, then you'll be like, okay, now what? And then you're gonna find
what happens if you go against that obligation.
Well, it is obviously if you define yourself as a Muslim, this is one of those basic things, right? It's one of the pillars of
I know,
Islam.
but what if you rebel against that obligation? What happens?
Yeah, obviously, then you're moving away from being a Muslim.
And why is that bad?
It's not about being good or bad. You just, by definition, you're just moving away from being a Muslim.
So it's not bad to move away from Islam?
Well, you're opening yourself up to other avenues of things that may take you away from your moral obligations. Being a better person, whatever.
You just admitted earlier you can be just as moral as not be a Muslim, right? I think you admitted that. So why is it bad to move away from Islam?
It's not about being immoral or
why is it bad to move away from Islam? Why is it bad to leave Islam?
Because if you want to be consistent on the path to be good to yourself, to others, and society, then you need to have a set framework that can help you do that, right? And I believe, like, I'm just using this as an example.
Christians claim to have a set framework.
They, like, 5 times a day as an obligation, or it's like
a framework for morality.
Yeah, no, not even for morality. This is to
Christians Christians are way better than Muslims when it comes to prayer. They pray without ceasing. You only do it 5 times a day.
What's that? Sorry,
that was like the Christian in him coming out. That was like the suppressed Christian, like, I'm gonna surface really quick. Just letting it through. Why not? He already knows. Everybody already knows his history, so might as well.
That was a good joke. Good joke.
Christian obligation is to pray without ceasing. Muslims, they only have to pray 5 times a day.
You can get away with that.
There's way more obligation in Christianity than Islam.
I didn't understand the word that you.
I think Doug's he said a joke, so I think, and I feel Doug is kind of being impatient at this point, and he's wanting to wrap it up. So now he's going with jokes to now build the report back up to leave it on a good note. That's what I'm seeing here.
Good.
Ceasing. They pray without ceasing. That they never stop praying. They walk down the street, and while they're thinking, they're praying. They're in constant personal relationship with God. It sounds like there's way more obligation, and therefore it seems like obligation is better for a consistent path to morality. So maybe you should leave Islam and become a Christian.
So that's a good point. So, and I'm glad you said that. So what I mentioned in terms of the 5 daily prayers, that is a ritualistic prayer.
Yeah.
But in terms of every other living moment, your actions, it's a form of worship. Simply me smiling is a form of worship. Me being good to others is a form of worship. So throughout the day, if I'm God conscious, I'm constantly remembering God through my actions, my words. All these things are part of worship. So what you're mentioning is something, it is already within Islam. It's just that these 5 specific the reason why I have these 5 specific pairs, it makes you take a break from other actions that you're doing in your daily life and fully concentrate without any distractions.
I understand.
And
Hey,
that is something
I need to go. It was fun talking to you, but hey, do me a favor and actually run that experiment and come up with, maybe 10 reasons why you think Islam is true, or that the Quran is the perfect word of God. And then for each reason that you think is powerful, ask yourself, what's the second best explanation? Write it right next to it, and then ask yourself, what's the probability of each one all the way down the list? And then get back to me maybe in a month or so.
Sure. No. Thanks for the opportunity to be on here.
Yeah, and thank you for being very civil and polite.
Yeah, not a problem. Take care, guys.
Bye.
There you go.
Thank you.
Good job,
Yeah.
Doug.
That's
Always
great.
entertaining show.
Yeah. I was going to pick this conversation he did, or there was another one even before that,
Mhm.
or a few. I recommend the whole stream. There's a
Oh
link
yeah,
in
the whole stream is
description.
awesome. It's 3 hours long and
Yeah.
so many good conversations.
And if you just search PineCreek on YouTube, there's like a bunch of responses from like Muslims and non-Muslims or people who watch Hamza. I think a lot. So I think Doug's going to get a lot more of these types of conversations soon. So hopefully we'll be back and review some more, and hopefully have him on at some point and see what he's thinking in his head when he's doing these things.
Nathan, one thing before you go, if you're in the market for a fourth car, this is not nearly as good as
For a
you
what?
think. If a fourth car, this is not nearly as good as it might appear. It does. The special paint does not adhere to the rubber for shit. Okay, but you could be the proud owner. Talk to me.
That is awesome.
I can add an extra lightning round question, and then I'll have evidence. What if I show? Actually, you know what? That's actually great, because the original Ferrari test is, what if I show you my keys to my Ferrari? Would that increase your confidence? Would you need evidence to have your confidence go up? So if I show you my invisible car with my 4 wheels on the ground, would that inch the needle up? Maybe. Probably not. You'd have to actually get in it, right?
That's great.
You'd probably have to, like,
Yeah,
get in the back,
totally.
sit
You'd
on,
have to bump into it.
the cloud. Yeah, you need to
Hurt your
trip over
shins on the
somehow.
bumper.
Send me that
Yeah,
image,
just
please,
walk on.
Dali.
Yeah.
Send
And
me
that was
that
wonderful.
image. I
Oh,
wanna use
sorry,
that
I
one.
already went away from it. Google image camo truck invisible.
Okay.
It's actually a Craigslist ad.
And last minute.
This will be.
announcement.
Go ahead.
Oh, well, you go ahead.
I was just gonna say this is gonna expire in like a week when the Craigslist ad is taken down. But thanks, Dolly.
Yeah, and
Yeah, you
Last
might need
minute-
to go grab that immediately. Although it's not unique. I've seen that particular gag done many times.
all right. Last minute announcement. Peter Boghossian and Tim Urban from the blog Wait But Why will be having a chat on Clubhouse in 6 minutes. So that's happening soon. I'll probably be streaming that to the SE Discord.
Hey,
Oh, okay.
Don't share that.
I'll be listening. Yes, yes.
No Android users allowed. Only iPhone users.
Yeah, so that's fine. But
Well, I can't talk, but I can listen.
yeah, so
Listen on
cool,
Discord.
good stream, guys, and we will.
Thanks,
chat.
everyone.
We will be back
Yeah.
next week. Later.
Take care. Bye bye.